It is the Anfield Wrap after Liverpool have won the Carabao Cup. Chelsea 0, Liverpool 1. AET, one of my favourite football acronyms in there as well. I love an AET. It was most definitely a lot of ET that Liverpool needed before Virgil van Dijk nodded the winner in. I've got with me Josh Williams, Ian Salmon and Neil Jones. But before then, we are doing this episode of the Anfield Wrap with Green King Sport, where football is more than a game, which I think was demonstrated remarkably well at Wembley yesterday. Green King Sport venues are showing every single televised Liverpool fixture over the course of this 23-24 season, which bodes to have a real historical resonance around the club. And with more than 900 sports pubs across the UK, it doesn't matter where you're based, you can get every single minute of the action. If you download the app, you won't just get 10% off all drinks anytime the match is on TV, but this month there are thousands of pints of free Guinness to be won and the chance to win one of 6 holidays. That is what is happening there in the Green King pubs. What was happening yesterday at Liverpool, Neil Jones, was an epic. An epic that... It was another one of those 0-0s between Chelsea and Liverpool up until the 90-minute mark, where it's fair to say it could have been 2-2. It wasn't a dour affair. We say the tight and nervy, the finals, and it was tight and nervy, but it wasn't closed off as a game. It became epic. The result was epic. The response to the supporters was epic. The manager was epic. The captain was epic. It just becomes one of those Liverpool moments that will just live so long in the memory.
Yeah, they keep providing them, don't they? You know, we said you shouldn't have home games against Luton, living in the memory. You shouldn't have Carabao Cup finals. You know, the 10th of your Carabao Cup finals being a sort of I think it's the best. Other than Istanbul, I think it's the best final Liverpool have ever won in terms of the performance. I think it has to be for the players, the situation of the game, the sort of excuses that they could have reached for and found.
I think Istanbul, Rome were 84 because they played Rome in Rome.
Fair, but they were a great side.
Yeah,
they were probably favourites in terms of football for that game. They were. I'm guessing they were bookmakers' favourites yesterday, but I think that was a flip of a coin. I would have suggested in terms of that. And that was maybe more on name than actually the team sheets. I think, you shouldn't say it. I mean, I swore on a tweet yesterday when Virgil scored. I don't think I've ever done that. I don't think I've ever swore, even sort of, in quote form. But it was that kind of day. I felt pride. I felt pride watching Liverpool, and I felt like I think people made their peace. And there was a moment I think it was in the first half of extra time where the LA went round the stadium, where you sort of went like that. But I think people made peace with no matter what happens now, that this is our day. And in the end, it literally was our day. It was I was laughing because I didn't get accredited for the game until Thursday. And I sort of got myself into the mindset of, if I don't get it, I won't, I've been to League Cup finals and I've been to Wembley, and it's my anniversary and I'll stay at home and this and that. I would have crawled across my missus to get to Wembley yesterday and be there. So I was delighted to be there, delighted to experience.
You've got more people out the way, including your missus like Darwin Núñez.
Yeah, I was a Darwin my way down to Wembley, absolutely. Yeah, down the hard shoulder of the M1, all the way down there to be there. But I know. I envied those who were in the supporters section. It was good enough in the press box. I envied those who were in the supporters section yesterday. It was magnificent.
It's what it says about where we are right now, Josh, in every single sense. It's got the resonance with what's happening with the manager. It's got the resonance with what's been happening with the manager and what he's set up there for 8 years. It's got the resonance of what they've tried to do off the pitch around the academy. But it's also got the idea there's still a nucleus of unbelievable senior professionals there who can get people through difficult moments in football matches. It managed to become one of those games that just tells the story of Liverpool Football Club in this moment.
Yeah, I mean, some of the players who you needed to step up and kind of showcase that level of authority, especially in extra time and around the kids and that, like a Van Dijk, for example. Van Dijk twice in the game, really. I mean, it's a 2-0 win for me as far as I'm concerned. Earlier in the week, we did a midweek extra show, and I said Van Dijk had a moment where he just thought, I'll do it, and he's done it again, and then did it again in the game. So it's 3 times basically in the space of a week where he's just grabbed the situation and just delivered what you need to deliver. If you just the star in the team, basically the last remaining star in the team who's not injured. But yeah, it shouldn't have been possible yesterday. I mean, when I first seen the team, I was like, I lost a bit of confidence at the fact that none of Szoboszlai, Núñez or Salah made it, and I was a bit like, you know, if we get beat today, we get beat. It's just one of them really. And when I started seeing the performance, I was like, you know, we're outplaying them here. We're playing quite well. And then we got to extra time. We make all the subs. I thought he was really brave in taking the likes of McAllister off and players like that. I thought McAllister was really good during the game, and he took Gakpo off as well, like a senior forward.
Well, you could argue at the end of the game there was only Van Dijk out of your best 11 on the pitch.
Yeah,
I mean, Diaz. You know, I probably would be Diaz, but you could argue Jota or Diaz. You could argue
what was
Endo or
Diaz?
McAllister. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Diaz. Yeah.
Diaz with one leg. But like at the point of extra time, I was like, we're not going to be able to get out of our own half here because we've got no outlets. We've got no threats in behind. We've got a gang of kids basically in midfield who were playing against 200 million plus men. You know, in Caicedo and Fernandes, but just defied all logic. Honestly, defied all logic. And I do think it's relevant at the time to, you know, a bit of a testament to Klopp's body of work over the course of his career at Liverpool and his ability to just make a team more than the sum of its parts and get everyone singing from the same hymn sheet, or in comparison to a Chelsea, who were a bit more. I think at this moment in time, Pochettino was trying to establish a bit of a soul. And I don't think there's one there at the minute. And I think we saw that in extra time, just little things in the game and the LA, and everything really just showcase the difference between the two clubs at the minute.
It's about the manager. Neil's actually written something very good this morning on Substack. It's about the manager, Ian, massively. And I think it's about the manager in terms of those players being determined to give everything they can for him. It's about the fact that what's happened at the academy, you know, other people have done much more of the work than he has, but he's created the weather and the circumstances, the patterns, the desires. This is what we're meant to do. This is the way we're going to play. This is who we are, which means you can just drop footballers in. Bobby Clark doesn't just get extra time. He gets much more than that, and genuinely looked as though he played at least 30 games for Liverpool, given what he comes in and does, full of youthful exuberance. It is about the manager to triumph of long-term preparation, collective belief, and what he embodies, which is the human spirit.
It's everything. It's not just what he's done with the academy. It's not just what he's done with the team, it's the squad. It's the establishment. It's the whole culture of the entire club from top to bottom. He's built in his own image over the last 8 years. Specifically, he's built the place. Well, he hasn't actually built it. You know, he didn't stick a spade in the ground and that, but he's got everybody together in the same site. For the
he did with the Anfield Road. He actually did put the spade in the ground.
There you go. He's built the stand as well. If he'd have done it himself, probably would have been finished quicker. His attitude to life, his attitude to sport, his attitude to everything, to the world, to socialism, to everything you want, to the values that Shankly instilled in the 50s. That is everything that he's carried through this club from day one, and it's paying off now because the fact that we've got the kids playing at the fact we've got the kids playing at Kirby with the senior pros, and they can see the senior pros work and they can see how everything knits together, it gives them that extra bit to aspire. There's no gap that they have to bridge. They're seeing these lads every day, so when they come in and play in a team alongside them, they know their job and they're being taught to play the same way and to play that. It's a Liverpool way that he's instilled. And yesterday, I personally think I'm the only one here that wasn't there, aren't I? I think
I went there.
You went there as well. So you've seen it on telly. So
yeah.
Jesus Christ, our end. Honest to God, if you were there, you don't know what that looked like. That was amazing to see that on telly. To see our end, you'll obviously have seen it from the press box, but it's unreal. You've never seen anything like it. The first 15 minutes of extra time, that LA that just starts and just keeps going. It's just a wall. If you can't respond to that, all they've got is plastic flags.
I saw Kevin Graham, who does Celtic State of Mind. Hiya, Kevin. I've met him a couple of times. Lovely fella. He actually tweeted he turned the radio on in extra time and he heard the noise and he just presumed Liverpool were ahead.
Yeah.
He presumed Liverpool had scored. He thought it must be at least 1-0 to Liverpool this then. And it was only when it was like 2 or 3 minutes in. When the commentator fight, he couldn't believe it. He just couldn't believe that it was goalless, and that is also the other thing that he's achieved, Neil. I think that he's so able to coalesce everyone around this. There wasn't grumps. I mean, it helps when everyone is aware it is an 11-man injury list, like and it's become 12 because of Gravenberch. I think that just tells the story of that's the other thing that he's done absolutely brilliantly, is he's got everyone to that much of an extent on the same page that you get that sort of response.
But let's take it back a little bit. They've done this before. They beat Everton with Yasser Larouci in the side, and Nat Phillips brought back, and player.
Fella.
They had no right to beat Everton. They beat Shrewsbury with the under-21 side. That was 4 years ago. This month, I think it was. So this has been building. This has been something that they've been able to do, and you're right. I mean, there's so many people, and I'm close to a lot of people at the academy. One of my best friends is the press officer. One of my other best friends is the under-21s manager. Like, these are people that I'm proud of anyway. But when you see that, and you see, obviously, there'll be some debate about, is he really an academy player because he signed from Newcastle, he was signed from, but they've all had the touch of what Liverpool are putting in the team, the players. You look at, I went to Morecambe in September and watched them. They won the first game ever in the EFL Trophy, and I made a big deal of it, and people were laughing, the EFL Trophy. But like, Bobby Clark was man of the match. Jayden Daniels made his debut for the under-21s, coming off the bench for 3 minutes in that game. Trey Ione hadn't even played. I think he played 2 games for the under-18s. He's on the bench. Lewis Kumas came off the bench. This has been building. They were really good in the EFL Trophy this season, the under-21s. They were competitive in every game. They scored in every game. It's the first time they've ever scored in every game in it. You've seen if you do watch the academy, you see the progress, and it's not just a case of, he's a promising player or they've got this. They're all players that they play like the ones that you see every week. So you look at it and go, he's a bit like McAllister, him, or he's got a little bit of Van Dijk about him, that centre back, or this left back. You can see the influence of the first team, and you can see the influence of what the manager puts into the team. That, well, if you want to play for Liverpool, you can't be. I'm trying to think. You probably couldn't be Robbie Fowler at this moment in time and get in Liverpool's team. You're gonna have to be Roberto Firmino, or you're gonna have to be Darwin. You're gonna have to have that about you, and I think that's long-term planning, isn't it? And I look at it and I wrote it today. I said, what Klopp is given to the next manager is obviously a club that's happy, but a club that if you're willing to have a go at it, you could have an absolute goldmine on your hands, because there's more beyond these. There's some who weren't even available to play from the academy. Ben Doak could have been playing. Stefan Bajcetic could have been playing. Curtis Jones, Trent Alexander-Arnold. There's more to come. So I think it's just kudos to. Andy Kelly put a tweet out where he listed all of the names of the people that you'll never have heard of, the people in the head of education and all these people. It's kudos to them. They've created this culture as much as Jurgen.
The manager speaks in his post-match, Josh, where he says, we play 11 against these when we can. And it's hard to play against them. The senior players find it hard to play against them, and that's why he thought, well, they can at least make it hard for Chelsea. They do a lot more than that. McConnell's extra time performance, I thought that Clark, for the first 20 minutes he came on, I thought he was tremendous. But then McConnell's extra time performance was the dominant midfielder on the pitch.
Yeah, McConnell, I think more touches than the other player.
Yeah. After the 80th minute, wasn't it? The most touches. Yeah. And he only came on in the 87th.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Bobby Clark puts himself about, a few step overs in the box now. I think his shot leads to the corner that we end up scoring a goal from.
He has a couple of opportunities, Clark, earlier to get a shot away, and I think he chooses not to, and I think it is a bit of a young player thing. I think he doesn't want to be seen to be going for something if it's not quite on, but it was on for him. That time, I wondered if someone had even had a word, because that time when he did strike it, that is where the corner comes from.
Yeah, and another player as well, like just Harvey Elliott, just unbelievable, mate. Honestly,
that's his best game for Liverpool.
If I'd have tuned in at full time, I'd have sworn he'd just been brought on. Honestly, the legs that he had, unbelievable, proper engine, mate, and switching the play all the time, really good on the ball, really technical. And usually, if you're getting tired, your first touch, you lose your first touch a little bit, don't you? And you start making stupid decisions on the ball and that. But at no point did Elliott look a tiny bit affected by the fact that he'd been on the pitch for about 4 hours.
Did you see how close his header was as well?
Yeah. It was even that great effort.
And he collapsed at the end of the Luton game.
Yeah, he collapsed.
He collapsed when Van Dijk didn't celebrate. He didn't celebrate the goal, did he? He just fell on his haunches.
But it doesn't look like that though. It doesn't look like he's blowing when he's playing. He just plays for full pelt, and he might not have the physical attributes in terms of being like a giant or really quick or anything like that, but he's quite clearly got it in terms of the engine. Like, he's got that Klopp engine in him.
Do the shape of the game, going right the way through, Josh. First half, they were susceptible on the break, but they were the better side until the injury. The manager's stinging about the referee post-match. He goes out of his way to be stinging about the referee post-match. And I think they put 2, maybe 3 yellow card tackles in before the injury. And I don't want to sort of get back on some sort of referee thing, but The week before, Caicedo, I think we all enjoyed it a bit more because it was against Manchester City, and we wanted obviously Chelsea to take points off Manchester City, but he was reckless last week, and I think that I think the manager. I think this is why the manager's just. I think it burned his head out a little bit, to be honest with you, and I think it burned the players' heads out a little bit by the time you got through the rest of the first half. I think they actually struggled to get back on top for the 15 minutes after the Gravenberch sub, because I think they're just thinking, what's going on here? Because it's one of those, because they don't win the game now and it goes the way it goes. I feel as though, and you've got to be careful, it's not sort of the confirmation bias, but I feel as though it's on a verge of petulance and ill-discipline from Chelsea. We're not winning it, so we're going to kick you. And I can understand why the manager was up in arms about it, and why the players were thinking it was out of order too.
Yeah, Caicedo's definitely got that in him, and he was definitely late when it comes to Gravenberch. Probably was a yellow as well. But it is a tricky one, because you do generally want your six to be a bit horrible, don't you? And I think maybe when we were linked with him, there was elements of us wanting that kind of dog who will do that a little bit, but not to the extent where he's hurting players, but just to the extent where he's in the game, he's on the pitch. So it's a difficult one, that. But I do think the Gravenberch thing is a yellow card, and it's frustrating that he went punished for it.
You think it's yellow?
Yeah, yellow card, yeah.
I think it's red.
I think the replays gave that as a red for 2 fouls for us this season. So that's that is a worse foul than Curtis Jones when he went over the ball. Because he's literally. I
don't know how you could say when a player leaves on a stretcher that the safety of the player wasn't endangered in the challenge. He said it was reckless, didn't he? Not serious foul play. Well, I just think, you can't obviously. You can have bad luck with injuries, but that wasn't bad luck. He got injured because of what he did. I thought it was a straight red. And then, even in not getting a yellow, it means he can do it again, can't he?
Exactly.
He's done Endo. He's done Endo, yeah. Endo.
Well, he's done one before as well. He's done one before, and that's what I think.
Chilwell the same. Chilwell got away with one down the line, and then he gets booked for the little row with Conor Bradley.
Chilwell was rowing with every player under the age of 21.
Yeah, Bobby Clark. He's on the go, wasn't he, as well?
Every kid. Chilwell thought he'd,
And again, we'll know this, you two won't. From the commentary, you've got Mike Dean making the ridiculous comment that the little scrap between Chilwell and Bradley was the most serious thing that happened in the game. There's a lad who's had his ankle broken. And the problem is the referees are still... They're refereeing events and context. They're refereeing a cup final and they're refereeing it's all heated. Referee whether it's a foul or not. If it's a foul, referee that as a foul because it's a bloody foul.
Yeah, Mike Dean was on full, referee support level. I think he was in the commentary box with his full kit on. To be honest, full refereeing kit on with a whistle in his mouth and everything. Honestly, because he was it's one of them where he was quite clearly only seeing it from the referee's perspective. When you got to put yourself in the boots of the player as well, especially if you're analysing the game as an outsider now.
There's something in. I think Chilwell epitomised it for me, Neil. Where Chilwell
enjoy this bit.
Chilwell gets murdered at Anfield, and I think there was a thing that those Chelsea players had clearly decided, we're not getting made a show of here. This doesn't happen to us again. And I think in the end that's what bites them in extra time.
They got made more of a show of.
Yeah, I think so, and I think that's what bites them in extra time. I think they're so fearful by the time they get to extra time that they're going to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
They get themselves in a situation.
Chilwell had something in his head about Conor Bradley, didn't he? That he got shown up by a kid or a young lad at Anfield. But to me, that's the best exemplar of where Chelsea are, is that Ben Chilwell's their captain and Conor Gallagher's their vice captain, and neither of them finished the game because they couldn't get to the end of extra time. Pochettino made the point, they were both taken off at half time at Anfield. What's in the dogs in the pub? If they're your leaders, you're not going to be led much. That's the bottom line of it. I thought Chilwell, when he came through at Leicester, was a tidy footballer. There was a story about him. He went to Millwall with Leicester and refused to take throw-ins because he was getting so much from the stands. I've never seen anything to suggest that that's an untrue story, because that's what he is. He's someone who wants it easy. He wants life easy, and Liverpool didn't make it easy for him. And I compare that to Virgil van Dijk as the other captain. If you were stood in the tunnel and you were looking across, you'd think, I know which side I want to be stood on. I don't want to be stood behind that one. I'll be stood behind the big fella there at the front. And I think, a lot of people will point to Pochettino, and I know there's some comments that he made about the extra time situation. But I think at some point you have to look at the people who are on the pitch as well and say, well, hang on. You back up forwards in Nkunku, Mudryk, Madueke. We had Raheem Sterling on the pitch to start with. You got Cole Palmer, who's this bright young thing, and you can't find a way past these kids. I think you have to look at the players, and I think when you've got him at the top, Chilwell, I know Reece James is the captain, he's injured, but I think when you've got him as your vice captain or in a position of seniority, it tells you everything about the state of that squad.
And quite gloriously with Pochettino, he was actually on Sky Sports immediately before the game with a tactics board showing us how he was going to play against us, which I thought was genius.
I missed that part. I didn't see that.
Moving the counters around to show how they're going to press against us. Yeah, it's just like, it's arrogance. Don't do that. That's ridiculous, because if anyone's going to bite you in the arse, it's going to be that.
We should, to go back to the referee point, we should make the point, we never, obviously, but he made that comment, didn't he, on Friday about the Klopp farewell tour.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there were a lot of people in that first half thinking, someone's out to prove a point almost, that, you won't pin that one on me as a referee. I thought, obviously, the Chelsea disallowed goal was mega tight. I couldn't believe it when it was revealed that it was offside.
Not when you see it from the other angle.
Yeah, obviously it was a slanted pitch,
clearly in front of him.
Yeah, and then you've got obviously the Endo goal that gets disallowed. The Van Dijk goal gets disallowed, but they're bits and bobs in the game. You can't really put that on the referee, I don't think. But the stuff like that, the challenges that went unpunished, the lack of bookings, the booking for Bradley for being pushed, they felt like, to me, like it was almost a referee trying to prove a point.
Moving through to the start of the second half, Josh, I thought Liverpool started the second half really, really well. Gakpo went to the post just before half time. I felt like we'd reasserted a little bit, but second half, again, I think that Liverpool are very good until the disallowed goal. I think the disallowed goal evens the contest up. It was one of them where I think Chelsea, you feel like you've had the emotion of the worst thing that can possibly happen, but then you get the boost of the fact that it's removed, if you see what I mean. And I thought that from that point onwards, the second half, and this is one of the reasons why extra time I think does reflect so badly on those Chelsea players, is that they're arguably the better side between 70 and the final whistle of normal time.
Yeah, it was interesting because I think Chelsea started every half terribly, all for them. And Liverpool, especially when Klopp made them subs, the really bold ones where he's bringing on all the kids and he's taking off a McAllister and the Gakpo and that. I thought at that point we were going to struggle to get out our own half and things, and I thought it was going to go on Chelsea's side, but you could see, I think it had a massive impact on the mindset of the Chelsea players, because I think by doing that, I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, but Klopp kind of like basically said to them, like, you better win this, Do you know what I mean? Like, look who you're playing against here, look at what I've got to deal with, look at the players I'm putting on. This is on you to go and win it now. And they looked like the spotlight was too bright. They looked like they went within themselves, and Gary Neville called them bottle jobs and that, and it did look like that. They didn't look like a team. They didn't look like they were they benefited from any boost in confidence when Liverpool suddenly had a weaker team on the pitch. It was like they were worried about the potential fallout if they didn't get the job done, and that's what happened.
That said, part of what got us to that point, Ian, was two very, very big saves from Kelleher. 86 and at some point in injury time. I didn't note the time of that one as I was watching the match. My head had gone. They were massive, massive saves from him. Was that?
I didn't realise it was so late in the game, The whole thing's such a blur that I didn't realise that save was so late.
Yeah, the one-on-one's 86 minutes.
It's the one-on-one with Gallagher, yeah. Because obviously there's the Palmer one before, and then the one where it's kind of punted into his arms by that ricochet, that's the one in injury time.
That's the one in injury time,
Is that when he flicked it up?
Yeah, he hits the boot and he flicks it up and just catches it. And he acts like, to be fair, he styles it out like I meant that all the way through, and you're like, nah, you never, lad, but it's all right. We're all Reds.
It was the most casual thing ever. He was stunned again yesterday. He was absolutely brilliant. I mean, he's got the great save in the first half. I think it was the first half as well. Wow.
The save and the block. I mean, the block's outrageous. I don't know where he comes from to pull that out.
Block. Yeah. Which I do wonder if that's where his ankle was done.
No,
or whether it was later against Caicedo.
Caicedo did.
He was stunning. It's that bit where Klopp has described him as world class this week, and he's described him as the best number 2 in football, and he is the best number 2 in football. You're not, the fact that Forest wants to give 15 million for him in the summer feels more and more of an insult by the day at the moment, and it's sorry, not the summer, January. Thankfully, we didn't bite. We weren't tempted, because he's invaluable to us. Because God knows how long Alisson's out for now, but it doesn't matter at the moment because he's shown his worth. Every single game he's shown his worth, and if you're going to show your worth on the biggest stage of your career, you're massive.
I think the recent games have done in the world of good. Neil, there's a couple of times when he was coming in earlier in the season, he looked like someone who just hadn't played much football, and it'd be almost a bit frustrating to watch him at times, because it wasn't so much the idea of the actual goalkeeping. It was a lot of the sort of the housekeeping more than the goalkeeping, if you see what I mean. And I think for that one-on-one with Gallagher especially, he does exactly what Alisson would do.
Yeah.
He waits, he's patient, he stands, he doesn't rush at it, and he just deals with it. Deals with, you're going to try and do this. And again, I think one of the things that for me epitomises all these young players, we'll do Kelleher, we'll get to talking about more of them in a minute, is the calm of them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He's not really a goalkeeper that makes a lot of spectacular saves, Kelleher, but Alisson isn't really a goalkeeper that makes a lot of spectacular saves. They do it by being calm, like you say, and being in the right position. And you know, Alisson's the best in the one-on-one situations. But yeah, I thought Kelleher, even if you took the saves out of the game, what he was like with his feet was outstanding. Every time the ball went back to him, you never felt right or left foot. He was going to sort of put his team under pressure. He knew where the ball needed to go, even if Liverpool weren't going to win it or were second favourites. He's had experience at Wembley, hasn't he? He's had 2 clean sheets in finals at Wembley. You know, I wonder. I mean, I saw his interview with LFC, and he said that he was pleased that the goal went in for his heart. But I wonder whether he must have fancied, I'll have another one of these here. He might have been in the first 5 takers, mightn't he, with his seniority. He is, you know, he is. It's hard to imagine a better number 2 around, and he's had some moments this season where he's let a few strange goals in. There was one away, was it Union away, where one just went in and you thought that was a bit weird. I thought the one at Luton was a bit weird on Wednesday night, but that's where it counts. That's where you need him to step up. You know, he's a senior player, even if he's got, you know, not much experience, and he stepped up big time. Yeah, I know Van Dijk got the player of the match off the stadium announcer, but Kelleher got it off Liverpool's fans, then he got the Carlsberg one, and you couldn't argue it either.
I want to run through some individual performances, but there's so many. There's so much bravery in that extra time period, so many heroes. But let's knock out McAllister, Robertson and Bradley. They all did well, but we can just crack on because there's only so much time to go through. We've covered Kelleher off. Josh, I think Konate's 105 minutes plus whatever the injury time was. What I liked about it was it had all the flavour of what he's good at. There was some good long-range passing when it was possible, passing through the lines, which has come on leaps and bounds over the course of the season with him. First half, there was a lot of getting to things first to set the tempo, and second half, there was some great last-ditch defending. Yeah,
I thought he was brilliant. Colossus during the game, and he's got that kind of that firefighter element about him as a centre-half. You know, when he sees a fire, he just immediately straight over to it, putting it out immediately, whereas Van Dijk's a bit more like, I'll weigh it up and see if it spreads or something like that. Yeah. He just sends Konate out, yeah. And sometimes he'll keep doing it on a yellow. He did it on a yellow at one point, I can't remember who it was against, but he
was it Nicholas Jackson?
He got spun a little bit with it was, yeah, and he was. I wouldn't say he was lucky, but he was, you know, with borderline stuff where you're thinking you're on a yellow, reining in a little bit. But I think the way in which he played, it proper ultimate safety net stuff. Considering, you know, certainly one of the most established players in the team, and you know, Gallagher touched on it a lot during the game in terms of Liverpool having a lot of youth players in there and a lot of inexperience in there, but we did have an established centre-half pair, and I think those two really, you know, almost assumed the role of the spine, just them two as a pair, and really give Liverpool a backbone during the games from which to go from. So yeah, Konate was brilliant, and the ground he covered, the duels he won and things. I made he didn't get injured.
Probably did.
There is Konate there. There's also Endo, Ian, who, to talk about that spine, does the 120, sits in front of his back four. I thought he was just absolutely immense. You know, for all of the 120 minutes, we've mentioned the block already, but in so many moments, constantly available. And in that extra time period, I was amazed how much he was first to against younger players. He was the one who seemed to, A, still have his brain working, and B, somehow still had his legs working.
I might just sit here and pair for a couple of minutes, to be honest. He's what a phenomenal buy. He's turned into one of the absolute backbone of the team. Somebody who we thought at the beginning of the season might get more than we thought, and then thought, no, he's not going to adapt, and then thought, Jesus Christ, this lad's absolutely world class. He is everything in the team. He'll split the centre backs. He'll sit there. He'll go really deep. But he's also, his first instinct is always to try and move the ball forward. He's always there to try and make things happen. But he'll also go into every tackle and come out with it clean as well. He'll always come out and make something happen from the tackle. I think he's an absolutely stunning footballer with a great brain, who's now obviously playing a level of a team he's never played at before. Obviously, he's captained his country, so he's played at a very high level. But he's making every second count that he's on the pitch. He doesn't go missing it. He never hides. Unlike, as Josh was saying about Caicedo before, him when he wasn't making fouls, you didn't see him do anything else at all. He didn't do anything the entire game. They had two £100 million players in the middle of the park, and we ended up with a £16 million midfield, and it was £16 million being paid on Endo and a couple of lads from the academy, and Endo just bossed the entire midfield.
Yeah, I thought McAllister was incredible as well when he was on the pitch. I mean, he went, and his batteries completely went in the second half. There was one where he was chasing back Cole Palmer, and it looked like he was in reverse. But I thought he was brilliant. Like, the two of them stepping in, certainly in the first half. The amount of time Liverpool won the ball in Chelsea's half, where Disasi seemed to be under pressure, or Colwell was under pressure, or one of the midfielders would be jumped on straight away. They were brilliant, and the fact that Endo, like I say, McAllister did it for 70 minutes, Endo done it for 120 plus. That is a massive thing, and also it's a real triumph of attitude to sort of setbacks in the transfer market. Liverpool, clearly they wanted Caicedo. I mean, Romeo Lavia walked through the mix zone, and one of them, you go, I forgot about him. He's had 30 minutes. They wanted other players, but when the come, someone's made the case for Endo and had it accepted, because it isn't what they would normally do. They wouldn't normally sign a player of that age and that profile, but someone's got their way. I think it will be from the scouting team.
It might be the only thing George Madker ever does for us.
Possibly. I mean, I think it'll be Dave Fallows and Barry Hunter more so, but that would be that goes down as one of the great sort of sliding doors moments, if you like, of this season, where Liverpool have gone make the best of a bad situation, and they've made it absolutely superb with someone like him. He's a top player. Not such a shame, because he come through on crutches and with his foot in a boot. Looks like he's added to the list now, because he's been absolutely superb. He's probably been Liverpool's most consistent player for the last 3 months.
I do think as well there's an element of Klopp in there again, though. I think, testament to the manager for me for getting in a £16 million player who has never played in a European competition, Europa League, Champions League, whatever. How old was he when we signed him? 30, yeah. And he just looks really effective, under the radar, really functional, and he knows his role inside out. Looks like he's been doing it for years.
Looks coachable.
Yeah, it looks really coachable, yeah. Looks like, say for example, unlike Henderson, he won't kick up a fuss if he's left on the bench or something like that. But yeah, I think Klopp's ability to just turn water into wine, he's done it consistently throughout his career, and I think Endo is the ultimate example of that, because I think as good as he's been, I think if you put him in that Chelsea side, I'm not sure. United. Yeah, and if you give Klopp Caicedo as well, by the way, I think he looks like a belter. But it sums up the manager for me, and how good he is. It's just an outlier in terms of just getting these players to just perform above and beyond what you'd expect.
Diaz for me, Ian. I think he's so dangerous. To me, it was in a number of ways closest to the only thing he doesn't do that Sadio Mane possibly would have done is score.
Yeah.
I think everything else he does through the first 85 minutes, you get to see what it looks like when the tank is empty, and possibly even with a little bit of an injury. But I think with a lot of these, with Endo, with Elliott, with Diaz, it wouldn't surprise me if there's just quite significant cramp going on, and we'll get a sense of where all that's up to on today, tomorrow. But Diaz, I just thought, constant outlet, absolutely decided he had the beating of them. And again, that was great to see too. He decides he's Liverpool's most dangerous attacker, and then guess what? He's Liverpool's most dangerous attacker.
Yeah, there's a moment where he moved into the number 9 position as well and looked excellent there. And the brilliance of him is he keeps going. He just goes again every time. If it doesn't work, he goes again, and he goes again, and he goes again. And you're going to wear down your defenders just by sheer repetition of always being there. And he backed himself fantastically. He's massive, obviously his feet are fantastic. He's always looking for a way to beat a man before moving the ball on. He doesn't do anything stupid. He will try and make the best possible space for a pass, best possible shot he can possibly get with his own movements. It was wonderful afterwards to watch him, which I watched at 1 o'clock this morning, being interviewed by Sky. It's not the greatest telly of all time because the girl who interviews him, whose name I can't remember,
Mullenstein.
She speaks fluent Spanish, and Diaz speaks fluent Spanish. So it was an interview in Spanish, which she then related the results to us. So as telly goes, it wasn't fantastic, but it was a great interview.
I've never seen anything like it though. It was dead interesting.
No, I've never seen one do it before.
No, it was really. To be honest, from the interview, I was more impressed with the interview than anybody else.
Honest to God, it's fantastic. But you're not getting an interview from the lad who clearly doesn't know any English, and that's more testament to him.
What about his dad on the train? With his cans of gin and tonic.
He stepped into the Roberto Firmino breach.
Absolutely love it.
His dad's all over Twitter.
I'd done 5 things this morning, and if I could have done a 6, it would have been Diaz, and I think he probably is the best encapsulation of this Liverpool team in terms of its relentlessness. It's imperfect. He doesn't always make the right decision. He doesn't always have the finish at the end of it, usually because he's run 40 yards before he gets to the end of it. But the relentlessness of him, I thought the courage of him in the game, given that he looks around and he thinks we've not got a lot of speed on this pitch, in terms of running with the ball. It's going to have to be me, isn't it? I'm going to have to do it. He knows that Chelsea know that, and they're going to obviously try and stop him. The bravery that he showed. I know he was on. I wouldn't even say he was on one leg in extra time. I've been there in cup finals when you cramp up, and you're just on the pitch. But a little story. He came through. He came through eating an apple in the mix zone, and someone asked him. Someone said, "How are you, Lewis?" And he just raised the apple like a sort of like a triumph. Like, I've got an apple. That's me. So he was happy. He was happy at the end, and his dad was getting swigged on the train as well. So what a day for them.
What a day indeed for them. I want to do Clark, Ian. He got, as I say, the first 20 after he comes on, I just think he's electric. I think he goes out to make it as horrible as he can for the Chelsea players. I think the only thing he lacks is just a teeny bit of confidence in front of goal, because a couple of opportunities do open up for him. He's got everything else. He's got a winner's medal there, and the extent to which he deserves it is hard to put into words. He contributes in every single phase of play, contributes going back towards his own goal, contributes going forward the other way. He's excellent, and I think he is... Even now, potentially looking at April, looking at May, I think he is one of Liverpool's midfielders. I think that's now the case he's made for himself.
Definitely. I think, obviously fitness allowing, he starts on Wednesday night. I don't think there's any way he doesn't start. He's clearly a footballer. So all the advanced quiet word that's been bubbling round about how highly he's rated and how good he is being proved. And it's taken a while for him to get his actual chance in the first team. But he's grabbing it. I mean, he's just everywhere. He doesn't stop moving. He's clearly... Again, he's a midfielder who knows his trade. He knows where he's supposed to fit in. He knows when he's coming on, what's expected of him. And this is the learning. So what, he's been with us, 4 years now?
With Bobby?
Yeah.
2.
That all? He's learned quickly then. He knows what's expected of him. He knows where he's supposed to be. He's fulfilling it perfectly. And he may lack that confidence in terms of... in front of goal in terms of decision making at the moment, but that's youth, isn't it?
Coming about 3 games, the rate of development for some of these lads. Coming about 3 games.
But in terms of confidence on the field, there's no nerves at all.
The first thing he done, he started throwing his body around, didn't he? And shrugging people, and I know that Ben Chilwell, but he ended up laughing at him, didn't he? When I think Chilwell sort of had a little bite at him, and he was just sort of grinning at him. What are you going to do? But he's got that in him. I've seen him at under 18s level. He's got bite in him. His dad was a competitor, obviously, Lee.
And there was a lot of bite in Lee Clark.
Yeah, absolutely. Nasher was his nickname, funny enough. But
good player.
And I mean, he's not dissimilar to his dad, but he's more of a modern midfielder. He's definitely someone. As soon as I saw him playing for the 18s, I thought, well, the way he plays, the way he gets across the pitch, he reminded me of Mason Mount in the way that he played. Obviously, Mason Mount was in a good run of form at that point, but a little bit of that kind of all rounder, just a midfielder, just someone who can do a little bit of everything. I agree with you. I mean, and again, sliding doors moment. Derby County tried to sign him on loan in the last day of the transfer window in the summer. Tried to sign him on loan in the last day of the transfer window in January. I think he was wavering on whether he wanted to go or not, and Jürgen said no. Good job, innit?
Good job. McConnell, to me, Josh, the greatest compliment you can pay him was that it was like we brought McAllister back on, fully refreshed.
Yeah, it was.
He was just absolutely tremendous all the way through the period, such confidence, shrugging away from people. Again, not dissimilar to McAllister in that you'd say, maybe not a ton of pace, but when you're that good, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, just very relaxed. His ability to read the game was good, I felt. I think the first touch he gets in the game, I think he didn't panic, but like he expected pressure, and it didn't come.
He emptied, didn't he? Down the line with his left foot.
Yeah, it might have been, yeah. And I think when he realised after that, like, hang on, I'm not getting pressed here, hang on, these are shattered. He just dictated the game, I felt. We said before, most touches out of everyone from the 80th minute onwards. And yeah, just did a job in there and acted like another little McAllister, like a miniature version of him. And just another testament to Klopp's ability to make these players feel confidence.
You mentioned Klopp, but part of the reason why he gets the touches is everyone else wanted to give him the ball. That was what struck me.
Yeah, like, and he's always available as well.
The number of times I thought, for instance, it's not like we praised him, we're going to praise him again in a minute or two. Virgil van Dijk's very happy to take responsibility, but he was also really happy to give responsibility to McConnell. I thought the number of times you just feed a little one into him and go, you're going to sort this. Virgil could have gone over him, could have gone long, could have looked to hit the big one, but Virgil doesn't. He says, you're going to progress this up the pitch and I'm going to stay at centre-half. And I thought that was really noticeable as someone who's working with him.
And don't forget, we've only seen a very little bit of him as a number 6. He's not a number 6, he's number 8. That's where he plays. He can play there, but he's a box-to-box midfielder. That's where he plays. Like, I mean, I was screaming at him because I know I've seen him do it for the 18s, 21s, both foot, 25 yards. He can put it wherever you want in the top corner. And there's a couple of times he laid one off to Tsimikas, and I thought, what are you doing? Tsimikas on his right foot, get him off. But I want him to, really, a bit like Bobby Clark, back yourself. But that's his game, So it surprises you the level that he's doing it at, but it doesn't surprise you to see, well, yeah, James McConnell can pass the ball with both feet. James McConnell can get box to box. He can take 50, 60 touches in however long he was on the pitch. We haven't yet seen the full potential of these players as well. In some cases, imagine Jadon Dan's coming on with Mo Salah and Diogo Jota either side of him. Where he's not a sort of firefighting option. Imagine Bobby Clark in with the first choice midfield, and these kind of things. So really is bright. I thought McConnell was probably the start of the youngsters on the day, and there was a lot of competition.
And they've only taught him the holding role this season, haven't they?
Mm.
It's ridiculous.
Because Jürgen said, didn't he, after the Norwich game, he got man of the match, I think, or he was saying he got an assist in the Norwich game for Curtis, and Jürgen said no midfielder should ever be a number 6 at academy level. You should learn the whole shebang. But yeah, that was the first time I think he'd ever started a senior. Obviously, first time he'd ever started a senior game, but the first time he'd started the game as a holding number 6 on his own.
It was very quick, Ian. It was thankless for Dan's in a couple of ways. Certainly in that period, moving into the end of the match into extra time, and then a little bit I thought as Liverpool, the game ebbed and flowed. I think Liverpool are much better in the first period of extra time than in the second. But it felt like the game was getting away from everyone because of fitness a little bit. Liverpool still remain in control, but all the way through that period, Dan's worked and worked and worked. The Chelsea defenders didn't get a minute. Yeah,
he was doing the shift as a sole number 9, because we kind of went 4-5-1 at that point, didn't we? And he was doing the shift as a solo number 9. The Gakpo had been doing. He was covering the ground. He gets that great header. And the only thing that would have been better than him scoring that would have been Joe Gomez scoring. That's the only thing.
He had one, didn't he? Gomez had one.
Yeah, decent shot as well. He looks like he's got it, doesn't he? He's got the movements. He's got the little flicks. He's got the tricks. He knows where the goal is. Speaking to somebody who'd never seen a second of him until Wednesday night, he looks an impressive footballer.
I think he's got that physical level as well. Yeah. Like Kwanzaa.
They're saying he's filled out this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, the way Kwanzaa came in and hasn't looked out of place in the senior men's game, I think the same applies to Dan's really. And I think getting that shot as well, by the way, getting that header, I think he deserves credit for that. I think a lot of the time that's viewed as like the random part of the game, like the getting the shots part, and the finishing part is where we attain all the skill to. But getting a shot that close to goal, decent header as well, decent effort, arguably one of the best chances in the whole of the extra time period, I think. Yeah. So yeah, credit to him, and I think I'm right in saying he's just turned 18 recently.
Yeah, 18, yeah.
So really good player, and hopefully he keeps going.
Yeah, he won it off the Elliott one as well. Then he was that close to putting that in. That's his game, isn't he? He's a number 9.
Yeah, poacher.
And that's where you need to be. And he's got 21 goals this season for the academy. He already helped set the goal up in the Premier League on Wednesday night. Fair play to him. You know, a lot of people will be surprised by his development, but that doesn't mean it's not to be enjoyed.
Not to be enjoyed. He'll be playing Wednesday.
Can I just throw in a name that's not on the list?
Go on.
Gerald Quansah comes on. The first thing he does is skin their forward as he's trying to tackle him. That's everything that we're doing at the moment.
What was really funny as well, he went and played Van Dijk's side for like 3 minutes, and I could see Virgil was almost a bit like, lads, are you going to behave here? Because I'm not having this.
A mate of mine messaged me and said, I'm glad we've got Quansah on, a bit of experience. What's his 15th game, probably?
It's honestly excellent stuff. We're going to talk about Virgil and Harvey Elliott in a minute or two. But we've been doing some work all the way through the year with Nivea around their Dear Liverpool campaign. And this is Alex the nurse you'll recognise from that campaign, speaking to John Gibbons.
Alex. But you weren't expecting to see me?
No, I wasn't, no. I'm just really surprised.
That's the whole idea.
And it is John Gibbons from the Anfield Wrap, and we're here to do a little bit more focus on the latest Dear Liverpool. A couple of weeks ago, you might have remembered that we spoke to Mark King from the Oliver King Foundation, which was the charity who were the focus, I guess you call it, from the Dear Liverpool campaign. But the stars, of course, of the show were Alex and John, and delighted to be joined by Alex now over Zoom. Alex, thanks so much for speaking to us. Really appreciate it.
Oh no, it's a pleasure, John. Thanks for the invitation to be here.
So let's remind people a little bit about this latest. I think it's the 9th one that Nivea Med have done with Dear Liverpool, where they surprise a Liverpool supporter. You were that Liverpool supporter that day. I think most people will have seen the video because it went viral, like they all sort of seemed to, went everywhere. But Alex, you were playing football one normal weekend afternoon against another team. Zabs, I think it was, old Zabs, who John plays for, just a normal game. Suddenly John collapses.
March this year, I had a weekend game for Old Civilians FC, and I basically just remember I went up for a header in the first 5 or 10 minutes. A few minutes later, I'd collapsed. It ended up being a cardiac arrest. Thankfully, the opposition centre-half, a guy named Alex, he was a trained nurse. He realised immediately the severity of the situation. If you are out for more than 5 minutes, the likelihood is that you are going to die, and I was out for 27. He started to perform CPR on me, rushed teammates and stuff over to get the defibrillator, shocked me a couple of times until eventually the ambulance came and I was rushed to hospital.
Aside from having a new friend, you just sort of went back to normality, relative normality, and until one day you're at work and then Virgil van Dijk turns up. Is that about right?
That's about right, yeah. So I think I thought I was, sort of just starting to forget about all this, and then I just turned up to work one day, and a normal morning. The only thing I've seen a bit different, John, was there was a guy who's played to be for security from the hospital having a look at the ward to see, because we're moving wards in February, so I thought maybe they're looking at, I don't know, the distribution or whatever. And then around lunchtime, my boss grabbed me and put me in. We've got a big MDT room just sort of next to the bay in the unit, and he put me in there. I started asking about my shifts, which there was no issue because my shifts have been sorted for a while. I've worked long days as a nurse, so it's just different days with different shifts. And basically, she just was making time for Virgil to come in and sit in one of the big rooms. There's a big feature room at the bottom, so he's just basically clearing everyone and clearing the room and letting everyone. And I didn't know anything, obviously. And then she just said, "We're gonna get some pictures taken for the new frailty unit." But I was thinking, well, I'd rather just go to A&E and keep working if you guys want to get pictures taken. And she was like, no, you need to get in that room now.
Alex. But you weren't expecting to see me?
No, I wasn't, no.
By him? Hello, mate. Good to see you.
Nice to see you again. Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm just really surprised.
That's the whole idea.
Unbelievable. But I presume maybe he was there for something else. Maybe, the way football players go to see the kids in hospitals, and maybe there was someone there who they were going to see. I didn't know. And then I was even more surprised when I seen John. And I actually was like, what are you doing here, John? I was just so confused. But then obviously, and then you told me that I didn't have to to go to work anymore and then just go with him to the training ground, which is, it's just unreal, really.
Yeah, it's incredible how they do it because, you know, you can see the genuine look and surprise on your face. You know, I mean, Virgil van Dijk walks into any room, you're sort of a little bit, you know, startled, aren't you? But it's really interesting hearing from you sort of how they managed to swing it, because I mean, he's a well-renowned footballer. Like getting him into a building, you know, does take a bit of work. So it's really interesting hearing sort of how they managed to do it and trick you, I guess, in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, trick me. There's been so much work behind the scenes. So they contacted my boss when I was on my honeymoon in October, and then it was meant to be that they was coming back from the honeymoon, but then Nivea couldn't do it. So there was just eventually a random Tuesday. But it's the amount of work that's gone into this. Obviously, the Nivea people have done a lot for it, and also this liaise with the common of the hospital and stuff. It's just insane how much going like behind the scenes that I even know about.
So obviously you experienced, you know, that day, but then you don't sort of see all of it until, I guess, the video comes out and you watch it. It must be quite surreal, like hearing Virgil, you know, talk about you. He called you an incredible man, and at one point, you guys superheroes, and that must be so surreal that you think, like, Virgil's just talking about me there. That's because we look up to them, we idolize them, but obviously, full respect for you, and that must have been crazy.
Yeah, and obviously, I've been close to football players before, but as a fan, you know, you see them in football stadiums, all players come along and sit, you know, places where you be. But I've never been so close to anyone like that. To think that he's, you know, captain of Liverpool, which is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he's, well, you know, Champions League winner and Champions League trophy and lifted and stuff. It's insane. And I thought, this guy is just choosing to spend the day with me, really, and John. So all of a sudden, we went. There's a view at the end of the video. I take it in the video and a camera. If we're going downstairs and there's a guy just coming up the stairs and says something like, "You're right, Virgin," on it. Yeah, are you okay?
Hello. Yeah, not bad. Yourself? Good.
From there on, I just realised it was such a weird day. All of a sudden, I found myself in the back of the taxi with Virgil van Dijk asking me about why I'm working in England and I'll be buying a kit, so what position do I play? And it's just surreal. And then obviously we went to see the training ground, which was unbelievable.
Yeah, it just looked like a fantastic experience for you, but it didn't end there, because obviously the surprise comes at the end where, you know, Nivea men took you to the game as well. So, tell us a bit more about that, because obviously we don't sort of see that on the video that happens then, but I gather it was the Newcastle game. It was full VIP treatments, I believe, and all that. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Oh, yeah, it was great. So originally it was going to be the Fulham game, but that fell on my birthday, to the 3rd of December. So I said, well, we've gone away. Can we do it any other day? And they said Newcastle, which is New Year's Day. So I thought that's quite nice after the holiday and stuff. We just have a little nice treat at the end. I took my best friend's dad, Jeff. He's been a Liverpool fan for 50 years. He's always had the same seat, and he's never been in one of these things before. It's just unreal. We got there, so we got the hospitality open from 5, and we got there for 5:15. We didn't know what we were doing. We just left 2 little village idiots just lost somewhere, and got in there, and all of a sudden, there's amazing plethora of people, of waiters just waiting for us, and they're so attentive, so polite, and they just sat in a table. Obviously, the meal was amazing. A 3-course meal, free drinks, and there was a program for the game. Yeah, John Barnes was there in the lounge with us. He kept telling about stories about when he played against Maradona and everything. It was amazing. And then obviously it was the last time that I seen John then with his mates, and he would spend a time with him and another couple from Nivea as well. And then the game was just that. The seats are unbelievable. So Jeff, and I often go to the game with them, and they sit opposite, and the other seat opposite by just below the where the score is, the corner. But these seats are like just watching it. You could see everything. You can see the 22 players moving. You can see what they go in, the runs they're making. It's just unbelievable experience, and obviously it was a great game. Second half was just unreal.
Yeah, when you sit in seats like that, it gives you such a great appreciation for what they're doing, especially as a footballer yourself. You must have been like, wow, the level these guys are playing at. And as you say, you can see everything, can't you? But you can see it tactically, and it's just an amazing way to watch football if you get an opportunity to sit in seats like that.
Yeah, no, it's unreal. I kept thinking, because we had a couple of bottles of wine between us for 3 hours. You'd think we could play there. I could be in the middle there, and I was standing there thinking, I know it's just running back and forth. But the first time touches, and I was thinking, John, stop! That doesn't look that hard. She would put her boots in. But yeah, no, it's surreal. The quality and everything else is just. I mean, obviously, then the stadium is roaring as it always is, so it's just a really good experience overall.
And the whole thing has been obviously surreal for you and a fantastic experience. But what I like about the video as well is the focus on the Oliver King Foundation, because, you rightly had a lot of praise for what you did on the day and how you worked with John and how you sprung into action and how the work you did with him. But the key part of the whole thing was obviously having the defibrillator on site, wasn't it? Because without equipment like that, you can do your best and you can try your hardest, but you need things like that, at these places, don't you, to help you do your job and to help you, do what you did for John that day.
Oh yeah. So that's the most important thing. I remember when it was happening, asking for the defibrillator, and I remember the lads talking behind me saying, I don't know if we have defib there. There's apparently a health centre close to the stadium where we're playing in Bannon Drive. And in my head, I was thinking, well, we need the defibrillator as soon as possible, because otherwise this guy had got very little chance of recovering. And luckily, there was just a defibrillator there. So it was way quicker than I expected. Someone just put the defibrillator to me. So then I just started sticking it on and making it, put it into work. And it was because the defibrillator was there that John, thankfully, is amongst us today. Otherwise, I think it'd be a little different story, really. I had the pleasure to meet the Oliver Foundation president. I think it was Oliver's dad, who I met. Yeah. And when we had the league we played, we had a 100-year-old sort of gala recently, just before Christmas, and he did come to me and said, "You really amazing what you did, and we're hoping that we can raise more money." It's the same as all this is for, just raise more money to get more defibrillators across, because it's what you need. You can do BLS and you can do ALS as advanced life, sort of practice, but you need to have defibrillators in place, otherwise the chances are reduced by quite a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Mark obviously praises the work that you're doing, the work that you did with John, but quite rightly, we need to sort of praise him and the work he's doing, because it works hand in hand, doesn't it? People like yourself who are medical professionals who jump into action in these moments when, like, maybe the rest of us will probably just sort of panic and no one know what to do. But people like Mark who are getting these defibrillators to football pitches, to sports centres, to places of work.
Yeah.
He's together, that's how it works hand in hand, isn't it?
Yeah, it does. And it's very, recently I work in the hospital in A&E, and I remember I know pretty much everyone in the hospital, one of the doctors told me they've seen recently a young guy who came in who collapsed playing in the same football stadium, and the doctor initially thought maybe it is John, because there can't be that many people described, but apparently someone else did a few months ago. But I don't think they needed a defibrillator, but obviously it was there, it needed to be. So that's just they just have to be in places, really. There's no way around it. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, we would encourage everyone to keep supporting the Oliver King Foundation. That's what this chat is all about, but also to, with Alex, just to touch a little bit more on the experience, since the video has come out. So then if people are doing a double take when they're in a hospital bed and you walk in and things like that, because I guess your face for Liverpool supporters did go around the world a little bit. So have you had a little bit more attention in the hospital and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. It's happened. So I think the staff, obviously, these things get shared pretty quickly in their sort of Facebook page and stuff like that in the hospital, and everyone was just with massive support and really, really nice about it. And a few patients as well. So I work mostly with older people, but a few patients who just happen to be Liverpool fans, they might see me. I've seen you somewhere. I know you from somewhere. I was like, well, you might have seen me in a video recently. I think like, oh yeah, you're the guy who was with Van Dijk and stuff. So it's quite nice to get that recognition, really. But yeah, I think it was going on quite a lot over the first few weeks, and now every a week, every 3, 4, 5 times, someone recognizes what happened and can recall the story, which is ultimately, yeah, as you said before, just to try and keep it in people's heads, isn't it, and making awareness of this.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. And fair play to Virgil at the end as well, because he donates, doesn't he? And I think that's a really nice part of the video as well, because Nivea men say they're going to make a donation to the Oliver King Foundation along with everything else that they do in the video. And then Virgil says, yeah, I'll make a donation as well. And I thought that was really good of him, but it just shows how much the whole day and the whole story touched him, really, because, they are human beings at the end of the day. We are there, and we see them as all these footballers, but, Virgil, similar to all of us, he's a dad, he's a husband, and he's a footballer, and he probably feels, well, if I'm in a position to help, I want to as well, and I thought that was a nice little part of it.
Yeah, and what's been nicer, John, is that I think they cut on the video, but when we actually did talk about donating for the Oliver King Foundation, he didn't know there was going to be a donation, so he actually said, I didn't know we were donating, and that's what he said, I will donate then some money as well, definitely. Yeah. So he just sort of, it's sort of straight off the bat. And I remember him mentioning about recently, shortly after, before we met virtually, another football player collapsed in Netherlands. And he said that I knew that guy from a previous team. And he knows how important all the different latest are. I mean, that's why he was just ready to donate. Really, he's just a nice guy,
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Veg, give a donation. We'd love other people to do so as well if you can afford it. Obviously, we know times are tough for people, and there's lots of worthy causes out there. But Oliver King Foundation is literally a dad. It's a father who is trying to save lives. He doesn't want people like his son, losing their life who maybe could have been saved. So he's on a one-man mission to get these defibrillators up and down the country as prevalent as fire extinguishers. Whenever you see a fire extinguisher, he wants to see a defibrillator there. And Alex is walking proof of how, along with people like him, that it can help save lives. But thanks, Alex, so much for coming on. Obviously, thanks to Nivea Men for putting us together. But I really appreciate your time, Alex. I know your day job, it makes you so busy, and it's what you're doing, every day is helping people. But we really appreciate taking a few minutes out to speak to us today.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure, and thank you so much for the opportunity. But always happy to raise awareness about the defibrillators. We need to donate to the Oliver King Foundation, really.
Yeah, Tom, man, Alex, speak to you soon.
Okay, thanks, John.
Thanks to everyone who came to see us in London. Thanks to Alex as well for that, by the way, and John. Thanks to everyone who came to see us in London the night before. It was very, very good indeed. I hope a lot of you got to see Keo as well the next day at Box Park. I bet he was brilliant afterwards. Let's be clear about that one. I bet he had a ball, and everyone who went did as well. But if you came down to see us, very, very, very much appreciated. It was nice to get time to talk to a lot of people before and after as well. We've got a live show now in Liverpool at the end of the season, for which tickets are now on sale. It is at Mountford Hall. It'll be the Saturday night before the Wolves game. And we've got those live shows in the United States that start off in New York, end in Washington, and on the way through go to Boston, Detroit, Wilmington, and it's not just the United States, because the other one is Toronto as well. I've not written that down, but we're all right in the end. My memory just about works after what was quite the time on the bus home yesterday after Liverpool won that League Cup. If you want to come to any of them, it's the AnfieldWrap.com/TAW live, and from there should be links, and hopefully they'll work. Apologies, the app was down for a brief period yesterday, but it was all action, as you would expect. A lot of people wanted to get on and get onto the post-match stuff, which is always very much appreciated. We got it fixed as quickly as possible. Andy was on the train, liaising with people, sorting that out. So that was why you didn't see Luis Diaz's dad. He was on IT watch. He was on tech, but he got it sorted, and it was all there. And if you haven't listened to any of that yet, do think about subscribing and go from there.
Can I just say the post-match stuff was brilliant, and the fact that you could listen to the Pink and hear the post-match pint happening in the background, and then the post-match pint and the Pink happening in the background. It's like metatextual. It's
Inception.
I think, it may be a bit too much, but it's a small bus. When I was on I was reminded we went all the way to Caoimhin back on it, on that bus, and I was like, I can't believe we did that whilst I was sat there. But that's, I blame Jurgen Klopp. Anyway, Elliott and Van Dijk, Josh, for me, they epitomise different parts of the Liverpool approach across these last 8 years, really. It's worth remembering. I think it's important. I'm fine with the idea that they brought some of these lads into the academy. They've spotted them, they've got them in, and they've got them to their values and their way of doing things. I don't think that that's something in any way, shape or form anyone should be shy about mentioning. And I'm also, it's Liverpool Football Club. The last year, 2 years ago, they were third in the Deloitte list in terms of money earned through football. This year they were seventh. They'll be top 10 again. Virgil van Dijk's a record fee for a defender. Harvey Elliott is a long-term project, which Liverpool did have to pay decent money for, but was signed to be that long-term project. And both of them, yesterday, effectively, I mean, Virgil's done it often enough, and Harvey's played ever so well this season. But both of them just come to fruition and show what they are yesterday in one perfect moment, one perfect day.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know where to start, to be honest. I think Elliott, I've already waxed there about him anyway. But
Do it again. He deserves it.
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. And I think one thing we forget is he is 20. 20 years old. Like
100 games at 20 years old.
I know. And he's supposed to be in the same bracket, really, as a Clark and McConnell and Kwanzaa and all that. But it doesn't feel like he is, does it? And if you watch him and recognise that he is, I think that's when you realise that he's got a bit of a gem there. And I think by the time he's like 25, 26, you think of the player he could be. He could really become like a... I don't know, I see him like an Odegaard maybe eventually or something like that. The way Grealish just evolved at Villa and became that real authority, you know, so technical and seeing things other players don't see and popping up in pockets and doing real damage in those tight spaces and things like that. I think Elliott's got all of that about him, and you do have to factor in the fact he's 20, though. It is ridiculous.
He looks physically bigger this season, and I thought you saw some of that yesterday. You mentioned before about the idea of his stamina, but I just think all round, not much, you know, but a little bit broader, a little bit stronger, and the idea that he was able to run like that for 120 is something which I think is staggeringly impressive.
Yeah, there was a moment late in the game, and he receives the ball kind of around the halfway line. And with his first touch, he absolutely does his man who's up his backside and spins him. And I think he gives the ball to basically someone who's shattered and the move dies. But if he passed the ball to someone who could run, or the players ahead of him could run still, it would have been a break, that. But yeah, Elliott was just the most energetic player probably on the pitch for me out of everyone. And that's probably including Conor Gallagher as well, who's known for that. And in terms of Van Dijk, just... I mean, it sounds easy to say that we wouldn't have won the game without him on the pitch, because he scores twice in the game and keeps a clean sheet. But he was the pillar of strength for me. He was the backbone. Like, he was just the real fella on the pitch, the man, you know. And the way he kind of just led his team and stepped up when it was needed. And I mean, he's the best centre half I've ever seen. And it feels like when you say that, sometimes rival fan bases like roll their eyes like you haven't seen Vidic or something like that. But in reality...
You have seen Vidic?
I have seen Vidic, yeah. I think Van Dijk's on a different level to him. I do. I don't think he's got a weakness. I don't see a weakness in his game. He's good at everything. The only thing he maybe doesn't have on his side in comparison to some of these John Terry's is the longevity side. But he's been going for quite a while now, you know, and he's still performing to a real top level. He's been the best centre-half in the world for a good few years now, aside from maybe a drop-off last season when he didn't have a midfield in front of him. Shock. So, you know, his performance for me won the game for Liverpool, and as good as everyone was, Van Dijk for me was just the difference maker, the transformer that we signed him for, that we signed him to be.
Neil, the captain, he suddenly just finds himself in this sort of unbelievably rarefied air in a couple of ways. One is his own general performance in terms of being both a central defender and a leader of that phase of the pitch, if not the whole pitch. But the other thing is, you know, it's back-to-back opening goals, or three of them, if you want, in there as well. And the fact that he does feel like he's contributing in every single aspect of play. You know, this is something that happens to great players during momentous seasons and great moments. And Van Dijk, I mean, it's been Virgil van Dijk's week, to say the least. And I think it probably extends further back than that, apart from what happens at Arsenal.
Yeah, and you know, I think also doing it selflessly as well as the captain. You know, there's a lot of people would have made the point that, well, the way that game went, Liverpool should have sat in and really sort of, you know, protected themselves and just played for penalties and played for set pieces and ground it out. Van Dijk's happy to have spaces around him. He's happy to say to the fullbacks, "Go on, off you go." You know, he's happy to pass it to James McConnell in under pressure and things like that. I've heard people talk about John Terry and Tony Adams and people like that, brilliant, unbelievable centre backs, but their whole thing was getting people around them to make sure that they defend their penalty area, and they do all that. Van Dijk does that, but really the courage that he, Canate, Kwanzaa, Gomez, whoever plays at centre back, has when they play for Liverpool is huge, and you know, you can't. It's just a perfect day, isn't it? He's got a clean sheet. His first final as captain, he's lifted the trophy, he scored the winning goal, he's got the player of the match announced on the thing. The video, obviously, they thought I was finished. I quite enjoyed that. I hope he wasn't aiming at it at the local journalist pack, because I think we all made that point that you might think he's finished, he definitely isn't. But I heard him. I don't know who it was. It might have been Adam Crafton that was on the BBC yesterday. I was driving back, and he said he didn't look like he played at the end of the game when he gave the interview. He still looked like, you know, he looked like he was just getting ready to sort of, you know, right, we're looking forward to this. We're going to go and play again. Yeah,
when he scored the goal, he had like 3 hairs out of place, and you're like, oh, he looks rough, doesn't he? Because he never ever looks phased, does he? Ever?
Yeah. No,
I thought he looked overwhelmed though when he scored. Like I thought, I think we have this thing about him that he is, because he has that aura in so many ways.
But I haven't had one taken off him as well. I mean, you know, there was a horrible moment, wasn't there, where you think, oh, I hope something hasn't happened in that penalty area. You can't go through that again, you know, that would have been it. But, I mean, Josh, you're right. He is the best centre-back I've ever seen. I think Alisson's the best goalkeeper I've ever seen. And that doesn't mean that they're the best the game has ever seen in terms of their career, their thing. But if you were saying to me, look, you need a team here that's got to win for you today, otherwise you're getting the chop. He's in my team straight away. He's the centre back, and Alisson's the goalkeeper. And Liverpool didn't have one of them yesterday, so they needed the other one to be absolutely faultless, and he was.
On Elliott, Ian.
Sorry, can I just do Van Dijk
if
first?
you want to?
Speaking on behalf of all the old people, I love this shout from opposing fans of, you never saw Vidic. Mate, I saw Hansen and Lawrence, and you don't need to talk about Vidic. Van Dijk is the best centre-back I've ever seen.
There you are, that's sorted out.
It feels like nostalgia dominates that convo. You know, whenever you talk about, people go back to like the glory days of the Premiership and all that stuff, and defending was very different back then. And obviously, I didn't see Pete Tony Adams really, to be honest, anyway. But like, probably the best I've seen is probably John Terry or something like that. Maybe Rio Ferdinand, Vincent Kompany to a certain extent. But Van Dijk, as I said earlier, he just doesn't have a weakness. He offers value to every element of the game. Your distribution, defending set pieces, attacking set pieces, leadership, ability to play high.
He plays headed passes. That's the best way I can do it. Like, the ball
amazing.
goes up in the air, and he knows where this header is going to drop. And it stands out so much. You know, when you think of great heading centre backs, Vidic would be one of them.
He set Salah up with a 1-on-1.
Yeah, he will literally.
The other week.
You know, there's one thing you see Joel Matip, or you see Dejan Lovren when he played, or Sami Hyypiä when he played. They get great distance on the headers, they're brilliant in the air. Van Dijk is planning the move when he's heading there, and his aerial ability is the best I've ever seen in any player.
And that's the most captain performance you'll ever see in your life as well, because that idea that you either lead by example or you lead by the way you talk people through, or you lead by your own performance. He's doing the whole thing. Elliott.
I feel like he was building to the moment, Ian. I love, it's glorious that he gets it. I love the video of him getting a picture of the cup with Salah, where it's like he wanted that with Salah, and Salah wanted to, you know,
I've not seen that.
It's a lovely one, a big smile on his face. But then he offers Salah the cup to say, do you want to have a go with the cup? And because Salah didn't play, because Salah's Salah, he's like, no, don't you? It's your cup. You go, off you go. I think the 100 appearances, 20 years old, finding his place, not finding his place, it all being a little bit tricky. You know, whatever else happens now for the rest of this campaign. What happens at Wembley yesterday is exactly what Harvey Elliott can build the rest of a sparkling career on.
Yeah, massively, because last season he played more. This season he's had more impact on the team, and it's been very much as an impact player, which obviously he doesn't want to be, because nobody wants to be an impact player. You want to get every second you can on the pitch. Yesterday he was perfect. He is, as Josh was saying before, the way he finds pockets of space. He'll pop up in the bits that you don't expect him to be in. So he's never going to be quite a right midfielder. He's never going to be quite a right winger, but he's going to be somewhere between the two, and he's going to be lethal in that space between the two, because it's the place where defenders and midfielders are looking for you. He's exploiting that all the time. His stamina's incredible. His physique, I think he's got that kind of, not to the same level, not as stocky, but that kind of Rooney-esque physique, where it's kind of like
He's wide.
Short, he's wide, yeah, Shaqiri,
Yeah.
but not as
Yeah.
not as odd as Shaqiri, more like an actual human being. No disrespect to Shaqiri, he was excellent.
A little bit of disrespect to
Yeah, a
Shaqiri.
little bit of disrespect.
He's not listening.
Yeah, I'm a 10 stone skinny bastard. He can give me as much disrespect as he likes. But he's got that physicality, he's got that weight to him, but he's got that solidity. You're not going to knock him off the ball. He's added that to himself the last couple of years. He's never going to have the pace because you can't suddenly develop pace. But it's that old thing of the first yard being in your head, because Kenny never had the pace.
He's running a little bit more. Me and Andy said during the match, the thing that he's running a little bit more like a 110-metre hurdler, if you sort of know what I mean. Like, he's not going to run like he's not going to
short
run
bursts.
Yeah, he's not going to run like a sprinter.
Yeah.
He's going to run like a 110-metre hurdler and that's what I think they've got to work on with him and keep that coming. And he'll be determined to do it himself because he loves it. I mean, that's the last part of it. He absolutely loves it.
He absolutely loves it, and you know, it doesn't mean that you have to pick him because of it, but it doesn't half help, I think, in situations
like the one we ended up in yesterday.
Yeah, and you know, I don't think you can underestimate the importance of him getting that goal on Wednesday as well, just because he had a bit of a sticky game and he came through it, and he the first half was poor, the second half was good, but he finishes it with a flourish and a big moment for him. Must have been flying into the weekend, and I think he's also one of them that I think the more responsibility you give him, the better he is. Almost, I think he can blend a little bit when he's got, you know, he's the 11th player, if you like, or he's the sort of the kid in the team. You see him for the under-21s when he plays for England. He's captain them. He's the sort of creative spark in a very good under-21 side. So, you know, good on him. As I say, as Ian said earlier, to get to 100 games in this era of Liverpool when you've been signed in as a 16-year-old, that tells you something. People maybe still don't see the full sort of picture with Harvey Elliott and see
out on loan for an entire season in that time
and had the leg
Did
break.
really well as well.
Yeah.
And had the leg break.
Yeah. Who are you picking for Southampton?
God.
I've got a team if you want
You
it.
got a team?
I've got 10.
Come on.
The 11th might be Neil.
Does it include Linders?
Sorry.
Does it include Linders?
I've got Kelleher or Adrian in goal. It wouldn't surprise me if he actually
I think it's Adrian. I think that's Adrian. I don't think you can afford to lose Kelleher.
So I think he might drop Adrian in. I think he'll start Conor Bradley at right back, does 70, and he'll have this idea of giving him constant 70s. But feel free to disagree at any point. Quansah, centre-half. Some other lads, centre-half. Costa Shimicas, left-back. Alexis McAllister, holding midfielder.
Did well, Simicas, by the way. We had one of them ones who didn't get mentioned, done really well, I thought.
Great delivery.
Yeah, great delivery, but like he was in the final third a lot, wasn't he? Sort of backing up.
Bobby Clark.
Yeah.
James McConnell. Cody Gakpo to lead the line. Or play off the left because Jayden Dan's to lead the line, making his first Liverpool start. Kate Gordon.
Yeah, I wouldn't have so many complaints with that, to be honest.
Train Ione.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Can't play centre-half. Who plays centre-half?
I'm not sure about McAllister, though.
Yeah.
I think we need him at the minute, especially with these midfield injuries. And
so I think he might do a 45-45 diddle somewhere as well if he can. So he might pick someone like for instance at centre half. It wouldn't surprise me if Virgil plays the first half and Konate plays the second, or Gomez gets 45.
I'm watching some of them and I'm wanting to see the doctor's note from Darwin and Soboslai. I think you made that point, didn't he? So I'm going to have a conversation with that medical team because Darwin didn't look injured to me when he was hurdling.
You're speaking about hurdlers, weren't you? That's what Darwin was doing.
So, yeah, he was hurdling actual humans. I think at one point he just Fosby flops over Curtis Jones.
He very nearly threw Curtis to one side.
Yeah, that was a dangerous moment. After Curtis on crutches, they're getting pushed headfirst down some steps.
In fairness, Curtis shouldn't have been hopping down the steps with a boot on.
I think Gravenberch threw his crutches away, didn't he?
He kept doing it over and over again during the celebration, picking them back up.
Paul Gore stopped him in the mix-up, or like said to him, "You all right, Ryan?" He's on crutches with his foot in the boot. He went, "Yeah, all good." I thought, "You're not all good." Come on, tell the truth. But I think Joe Gomez is the other centre back in that team.
He does play 100 minutes.
He does play 100, but he wouldn't necessarily play at the weekend.
Yeah.
I think you've got Robertson. I suppose you could Robertson centre back. I've seen him do it for Scotland. I think that McAllister. I don't think we'll see McAllister. I think he would have had a good sleep last night. McAllister. He looked done and dusted. I can't see how Diaz can get on the pitch.
So
I think no way Diaz should be anywhere near the squad.
That's an employment tribunal waiting to happen. If Diaz ends up on the pitch, no, he's got to go home.
Where's Kumas play?
Kumas a forward. He could definitely play across there. Obviously now he's only 16, and
Who else have we got for midfield?
Well, that's why
That's why McAllister's such a...
I think he might, or he might do 45. He might do 45 with the young lads, and then I'll have McAllister.
He could play Gakpo in the midfield and play the young forward line. He could have Gakpo as the
and then McConnell at 6.
Yeah. Kumas was on the bench. Gordon wasn't on the bench. I was a bit surprised. Ioni's there. He's a midfielder, but he's 16 years of age. I think there might be a couple drafted up from the 21s as well. You might see maybe Carter Pennington, Amara Nallo, maybe these young centre like Terence Miles. There's a few lads who I think we'll just see on the bench that you probably haven't heard of.
I was going to say, I love the fact I haven't heard of any of those three.
Yeah, well, Carter Pennington and Amara Nallo are two 16-year-olds who've been playing centre half for the 21s this season. So, yeah.
Being fair, there's massive pressure on Southampton in the league all of a sudden. They're on a bit of a bad run. Leeds look lively, and Leicester have still got the points advantage. They'll want to finish top 2. I don't think they're coming and playing a first choice 11 unless he's got the idea of...
The manager said they got beat the weekend, didn't he, by Millwall, was it? And the manager said we could do without this game. That was his comment, so I wonder whether...
Makes 2 of us then.
Yeah.
Should we shake hands on a 1-0 win?
Or should we just do pens? Do you want to just come and do pens? We'll do 10 each and go from there. I think it'll be... I think they'll go weaker than people would think, unless he decides... I need to give them a confidence boost, but I think footballers aren't daft, and if he's coming onto a pitch against Liverpool's under-21s, whilst everyone wants to win at Anfield once in their career, the plan for Southampton is to play at Anfield next season, and that's more important to them, and they won't see the boost. The prize for getting through, let's be crystal clear, it might be the 6th round of the FA Cup, but it also means Goodison's getting lashed into a midweek in April, and that is the prize.
Big.
That I think would help Liverpool massively in that fixture, because if not, they've got the Europa League second leg in the run-up to it. You put it into a midweek, and you've got an Everton side who haven't got enough fit players, suddenly having 3 games in a week is the time they might need a result, and I think that would be a real benefit for Liverpool, and we are, after all, the Devil's Club. We prove it time and time again.
Even turned Tony Bellew into a believer, haven't he?
We'll get them all eventually, Neil. We'll get them all.
Fair play to Tony Bellew. Obviously, I know some things are more important than that, isn't it? I know he's got the family connection, but I saw the fume that he engendered. That was a little side story.
Yeah, indeed, one by one on the banks of the River Blue Mersey. Thank you very much indeed to Josh Williams, to Ian Salmon, Neil Jones, Andy Heaton's produced Jordan Singleton. Listen, it was a big day. Jordan Singleton, the first thing I've got wrong, Jordan Singleton's done the images as we've gone through on the YouTube. The manager just provides miracles, and he provides life.